Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote just for this episode. When you want it bad enough, you are willing to sacrifice everything around you to become successful. The real Ben Reinberg. Our guest today has been a friend of the Culture Matters podcast for some time, from episode 118, episode 422. I challenge you to go back and listen to those two different episodes, very different conversations. They've been in the investment world in real estate for 3 decades plus, been a mentor, an advisor, a deal maker, and a business builder for people to build their wealth in the real estate sector. Friend of the Culture Matters podcast. I'm so glad that you're coming back, my friend, Ben Reinberg. Thanks for coming back.
How are you? Hey, good to see you, Jay. Thank you so much for having me back, and look forward to adding value to your audience like we did twice, and we'll just keep going and keep adding value. And I know really appreciate you and the time, and you have a wonderful show. So let's get at it.
Well, thanks. And I really want I'm excited about this because in the sea of people, I click when I used to watch TV at 4 a.m., there'd be infomercials about 9.95 short sales or something of that nature. In the sea of information, in the
Mhm.
sea of people that proselytize real estate as an asset class, I really see you as someone that's clearly done it for 3+ decades and built people's wealth through it.
Yeah,
So, what would you
absolutely.
say, my first, for the lay person that maybe hasn't listened to other episodes or isn't yet listening to your podcast? I own it and following your journey. What can the lay person do to kind of see, like, maybe some red flags of who to follow, the types of people when it comes to real estate investment, you know, uh, proselytizing or guru-ness as a tenured professional, a business builder in that vertical? What can the layperson do to kind of say, oh, that's a red flag. I don't want to invest in that. I want to go in this direction. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it goes with track record, goes with experience, it goes with how the company structured their leadership team. You look at Alliance, my company, we've been around for 3 decades, and we have 200 plus years of leadership team experience. We could show you, you can go kick the bricks in the mortar of things that we've owned or own. It's full transparency. How to decipher who to invest in or who to follow online. It's got to be transparent, because commercial real estate, what I do is a full transparent business. What do you own? Who do you work with? Who lends on the properties you have? What are the returns you pay? What's been the track record when you've been in a property and then exited? It's very straightforward stuff, Jay. So for me, if I want to follow someone, is I want to know how many deals they've done, what type of deals. I'm gonna hear their speech, their language, their cadence, their confidence. And so when I'm on social media or podcasts, I'm just talking from my experience. I mean, that's all I can do. And so that's who you follow, that's who you look for. And you look at who can teach me, that has empathy, but also will take the time and patience, where I can learn from following someone on social media. If you look at my social media, okay, is I don't post family. I don't talk about that. All I do is talk about what is the value I'm giving out there in the ether, in the world, that I can give and serve based on my knowledge in business and commercial real estate experiences that I personally had to get to this point in my career, in my life. And so I
Hmm.
touch on personal development, I touch on my health and fitness and wellness and all that, because it's important to get to where I'm at by having that all aligned.
Hmm.
So, people ask me all the time, Jay, they say, well, tell me about money. And money is a tool. Okay. And you need to use money as a tool and not
Hmm.
sacrifice the other tools that you have. So, what's a tool in your life? Time. Time's our most valuable asset, right? Resources, relationships. These are all tools. You don't want to sacrifice money to affect the other tools in your life. You don't want to outweigh it, right? And so, if you put money as a priority, you have to say, to go back to your quote when you open the show, is if money is a priority, you have to look at your whole life and say, what is a priority and what am I willing to do to sacrifice it? And what am I willing to give up? And that's what ends up happening in people's lives is you have choices. People say, well, I want to be wildly successful. I want to own a lot of commercial real estate. I want to own a business. I want to scale it. People use the word scale a business a lot here. And so the question is how bad do you want it? What and how bad you want it to me is what are the priorities you're going to take in your life and say, well, you know what? So I'll give you an example. Okay. I don't play golf. Now, I like golf. I used to play when I was younger, but I made it a priority that I'm going to focus on my family and business while my kids are being raised. And I am going to not go out and play golf for 4 or 5 hours. I want to go to the kids' baseball games and soccer games and all that. And I got to work to support a family. So for me, that was a choice I made because making money, growing my business was a priority at that time. And
Mm.
so, and it still is something I'm passionate about and I do. A little bit different these days and with everything we have and what we're doing. But at the end of the day is everyone, you have to be in alignment. Okay. And what I mean by that is if you look at your thoughts and your language and your resources and your inner circle, all of it has to be in alignment or you're going to go broke. And so it's really important for everyone out there that's listening is to look at your life and be truthful to it. And look, be honest with yourself. It's hard for people to be honest with themselves and just take a step back and say, you know what? I don't like this part of my life. Okay, let's change it. I don't like this going on in my life. I don't like this relationship. You have to really, I think as you age, Jay, as I'm 54 years old, you start really valuing time a little bit more. Who you spend time with, what podcasts you go on, what employees you hire. And so if you can at a young age to really value your time, you'll see your whole life shift because you're going to start looking at those moments and say, you know, it's important that I really look at who I'm surrounding myself with. It's important that maybe instead of watching Netflix, I'm going to read a white paper on something I want to learn and grow and develop into, or I'm going to read a book that can enhance my knowledge and make me a better person, a stronger businessman or woman out there. So we all have choices. So the question is, what choices are you willing to make?
When it comes to choices and who you surround yourself with, what like why not just do the real estate investing oneself? What's the value in partnering or having like that yeah, that relationship with an organization that's just focused on that asset class? Can you unpack that a bit?
Oh, for sure. I'd love to unpack that. Well, first of all, smart investors invest with smart money. Okay. So what we do is a very sophisticated, complicated business. Okay. You have to understand all the real estate fundamentals. I'm not going to get into that. It's a little bit more complex for a different show. You understand the real estate fundamentals. Investing in commercial real estate is an experienced person's game. I will say that. You hear it on social media. I'll always say why. There's a lot of things that you have to underwrite. You have to know how to underwrite. You have to know the money's in the dirt. You have to understand the tenants and capital improvements. You have to understand taxes, property taxes, how to mitigate them if you need to. You have to understand cash flow. You have to understand debt and go deep into what debt really means, how to secure it, how to procure it, and how to enhance investment through debt and equity. How do you raise equity for a deal? So all these factors matter. Now, let's just say you're a professional out there. Okay. Pick an industry, Jay. Just give me a line of work that someone works in.
Consulting?
Consulting. Okay. So you're a consultant, right? And you want to be the best consultant in the world. And you're consulting huge companies and you're doing very well. Why would you divert your time away from what you do best to get into commercial real estate? Because it sucks so much time out of your schedule. I see my property management division, Jay, and how hard they work and what they have to deal with. And the reason why physicians sell us properties for the Alliance Medical Fund that we launched, which is doing really well, is because physicians don't want to own real estate. It's a pain in the ass. They're like, man, we got to do all this management. We got to deal with rent. We have conflicts of interest. We got to put money towards capital improvements. I got to sit with a roofer and build it out. And all of a sudden, it takes away time from my family, my business, and what I do best. The reason why passive investors, accredited investors, flock to us in droves to Alliance Consolidated, my company, is because it's a way for them to be in our universe, come on the learning curve and learn how to invest in commercial real estate, but not have to deal with the day-to-day headaches of managing, owning, and asset managing real estate, as
Hmm.
well as dealing with equity and their lenders. And it's a lot more than the ICs.
Hmm.
And when you invest with smart money, you make great money. And that's a saying is you want to invest next to smart money. That's why people come and invest in my company. They're investing in the Alliance Medical Fund, and they want to know more about it. They want to know, how do I get in your universe? Because we invest more than medical office. We're going to diversify your capital, not only within medical and veterinary office, but we're industrial, retail. Uh, we now just launched a multifamily division within the company. We're doing hard money lending. So we can take a pool of capital, say someone has $1 million, we can take that and allocate it over a lot of asset classes, which diversifies them more. Now, imagine this: you're an investor, and let's just say you're a CEO of a major corporation. Jay, who has time? We talked about time, right? Who has the time, resources, and knowledge to get involved in what we do as a company at Alliance? It's a lot of work. I just spent 3 decades getting to this point. Imagine you're out there and you value your time. How much you want to get in the weeds
Hmm.
on commercial real estate investing? So that's why people invest with us. But there's a lot of reasons people invest. People want cash flow. People want great tax benefits. People look at it and say, I don't want to have to deal with property management. I want to leverage into talent. I want to leverage into a track record. Oh, by the way, Ben Reinberg is a CPA and they're experts in mitigating taxes for investors. Oh, I like that too. They have tax benefits too. So there's hundreds of reasons why you should invest in Alliance. And it's why I invest in what we do. And I'm a big proponent, because what other investment do I have that's transparent, produces results, has a great track record, has great leadership team behind the sponsorship of our company, and can solve challenges in any environment? And we've been through different cycles as a team because we have a lot of experience, a lot of gray matter between our ears. So that's why people do it. There's hundreds of reasons why you should invest in Alliance and why people do. And it's why people are flocking to the Alliance Medical Fund, because they're looking at Jay and they're saying, wait a minute, I have all this experience. I have a proven track record. I have a company that knows what they're doing, that I can feel comfortable in an uncertain, chaotic market. Oh, and by the way, the foundation of the tenants that are in these assets that are in the fund, besides my diversification, scalability, purchasing power, and cost of capital, is better in a fund. But wait a minute. The human body is the foundation of the tenants that are paying rent in the fund, because the human body is never going out of style, Jay. And so for them, they look at it and they're like, okay, safe, secure, profitable investing that a lot of people want to acquire their portfolio when they exit. So what's my risk? Well, at least I know what I get. I know I get quarterly reports from Ben Reinberg and his investor relations team. You get a personal letter from Ben. You get narratives on every single property in the fund, and you get financial statements on the fund. And you can call the investor relations department when you want, and you have your own investor portal with your username and password 24/7. You can get on and pull documents. So what our vehicle or company is going to provide you that transparency? Because if you're going to work at Alliance, okay, and you're out there saying, how do I go work for this company? You have to have transparency, integrity, consistency, and expertise. Those are our core values. And if you don't align with us, so that you won't work at Alliance. Now, let me go deeper. Why we have those core values is because everyone has their own autonomy. They have departments run divisions, and we are a fiduciary of capital. We have high net worth investors and family offices and different capital from around the world that invest in Alliance. And guess what? Your team and all your employees better be on the same page. They better operate at a high level and have certain standards in order to work here. So what does that do? Well, that oozes out and transpires directly to our investors. It adds value, it adds trust, it adds credibility and comfort. I like to provide certainty and comfort to our investors. It's extremely important to me. I'm also an investor, so I'm shoulder to shoulder with them. Comfort, certainty, and responsiveness is extremely important to me, because People get upset when they're like, why is Ben not responding in 10 minutes? Because that's how I've always been my whole career. Now I'm so busy, it's hard for me to do that. But we have a whole staff that services every aspect of the investor experience. The investor experience to me, Jay, is everything. That's why people invest with us. That's why we work so hard. That's why I'm out there on social media preaching and doing our show and all these wonderful things. Not only to educate, but provide you where you made 100,000 or you 500,000, whatever you have that's liquid, and you want to invest and diversify and protect your capital and earned returns and a profit and tax benefits. That's what we do as a company. That's what we pride ourselves on. And so to get involved in our space and buy it yourself and deal with the nuances and the challenges that we have to deal with the daily basis, it's not that easy as it seems. You
Does,
have to
does,
have a platform.
does focus and smart money have a relationship?
Yeah, it does because you have to be focused and disciplined with your money. And so, for example, if you're going to invest in Alliance, which we're smart money and smart investors, you want to make sure you're disciplined. You want to make sure you understand the investment. You want to make sure if you invest in anything else in this world to diversify your portfolio, think about how do they solve challenges? What is my discipline? What are my standards? Who are the people I resonate with? For example, for me, when I invest with other people, Jay, communication is important. So at Alliance, I stress communication. Like that's a non-negotiable for me when I invest with people, as well as when people invest with me. I want to make sure communication is clear, concise, consistent, and reliable. And guess what? That's why we don't get a lot of calls from our existing investors. It's because it's the comfort level. It's like, okay, they told me what I need to know. Now, if I don't understand something, I'll pick up the phone and call
Clear, concise, consistent, and reliable.
them. Mm-hmm.
What relationship do you think that has with weathering the tougher times? Like, because what I'm thinking is speculating is when times get tougher, we want everyone to stay on the ship, not jump off the ship. Because, right, we got to
Yeah.
get through a tougher time.
Yeah.
So, do you think
Yeah.
there's a relationship there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to understand what you're investing in. So when you're investing in commercial real estate, you have to realize that not everything's going to go perfect. Not everything's going to be liquid at the time you want. You have to have the ability to hold. So ability to hold, ability to hold, ability to hold is everything in commercial real estate. And with that said, you have to have patience. You have to understand. And when you invest, you diversify your portfolio and say, okay, I'm in this for probably 5 years. If I'm for 6 or 7 and it's going to make my returns better and things are working out, great. If God forbid something happens, I got a loss, a tax loss, like used against our passive investments. I knew what I got into. So having wide eyes open, understanding investments, and understanding commercial real estate is important. It's why people invest with us because, again, it leans into understanding the asset type, the tenants, the risk tolerance, the risk level. How do you mitigate risk? You have to be in the business every day if you're in commercial real estate. Like, you can't have one toe in the water and say, well, I'm going to try this. It doesn't work that way. You have to build a relationship with tenants. You got to build a relationship with vendors and roofers and HVAC. If you see the amount of work that my staff does at Alliance, it would make your head spin. It's a lot. The meetings and the constant follow up, and God forbid you got a hurricane and a roof blows off, HVAC is not working, and it's 110 degrees like it is here in California around the country. How do you deal with those issues? And that's what we do very well as a company, and I do very well. And that's what I preach from the top down.
So the entrepreneurs that are listening can understand the ability to hold if they've started a business. Like, I mean, maybe the first 6 years, I, I didn't start making money for at least 6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the entrepreneurs can understand the ability to hold. Would you say then that's similar when it comes to investing? It takes time to get runway. And there's got to be a psychological battle there for people because
Well, it is, but also realizing whether it's commercial real estate or a business, you have to have enough working capital reserves to weather storms. And so if you're out there and you're starting a business or you have an existing business and you're making money, every year or month, you should be putting aside money to carry the business, invest in the business, instead of pulling out all the equity. You know, you can create tax situations where you can have reserves and everything and not pay tax on it and really enhance your cash flow. But you need to methodically put aside money. We do that on properties. We'll raise money for reserves. We'll bring in reserves. We'll make sure we have money for a rainy day, so to speak, Jay, because things happen. I mean, people use the word shit happens in life, and they do in deals, they do in companies, they do, all of a sudden different
Oh,
laws come out, they change, or technology changes. And so we're in an ever-changing world. And in order to deal with change, is you need the ability to hold, and having the ability to hold is having enough reserves, working capital to weather storms. That's really important as a businessman or woman out there listening.
does that impact the distinction between like risk and volatility? I'm thinking like if we don't have or if we're not in that reserve, what mindset or habit, then volatility becomes risk versus there just be maybe I'm not saying this as clearly as I'd like to, but like volatility, right? Something could be worth up or down based on macro, but we can go to zero if we're not prepared, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's you have to protect your downside, like we do in all our investments, is understand, like, God forbid a tenant moves out, or tenant doesn't renew, or interest rates rise. How do we deal with it? And so you have to protect your downside. And same thing if you're a business owner out there, is understanding what your downside is. Maybe new competition, maybe AI is taking over certain aspects of your industry. Who knows, depending on what space you're in. But it's why I love hard assets, because they don't go anywhere. People need space. People have to go to the doctor. People have a place to live,
Hmm.
a place to work that will never change. That's why I love my business. That's why people invest in Alliance. But if you're in a different industry out there and you're listening, and let's say you're a digital marketer or whatever you're doing, make sure you have enough reserves to pay bills, your overhead, and you can carry yourself. Because if this is what you're passionate about, again, you got to prioritize what's important in your life. If your business is important and money's important, or your health, or all these things, you have to make sure you're aligned with what's important to you. And you can't let outside forces tell you differently. They're not paying the bills. When
Hmm.
someone says to me, "Oh, Ben, you should be doing it this or this or this," well, I've been doing it 3 decades and I'm doing just fine. And by the way, uh, I'm the one who signs the paychecks at Alliance. I'm the one who pays the overhead. I'm the one who is the buck stops here, solves the ultimate problem if I need to, that's going on. And also who the investors rely on, besides everyone on our leadership team. And so I take that responsibility personally, and I own it.
Wow.
And you have to own it. And so if you have a business out there, is don't just think starting a business or running a business is sexy. It's not. It's what you do between the lines every day when no one's looking. That's what really rises into a man or a woman. It's like, and there's so many talented people out there. I mean, I get to meet incredible men and women every single day in life. And they're committed. They're committed to what they're doing. They're experts in what they're doing. They're constantly working on themselves to develop into the businessman or woman that they want to be.
Hmm.
And when you could take a step back and be honest with yourself, you could see a lot of the things you have to work on, and all of us do. And so I'm constantly learning and growing and developing and managing my emotions, and hiring better talent if we need to, or opening up a new division, or learning something new. And we're doing hard money now as well. So things change, people change, and you have to accept and embrace change, Jay. It's so important for everyone out there, is that in this technological, cryptocurrency, computer, tablet, iPhones, Android world we live in, and AI coming like a rampant soldier at us, you have to embrace change, and you have to continue to learn and open your eyes and take care of yourself and your health, because that's all we have. And
Hmm.
don't forget, time is everything. Time is your greatest asset. It's the most valuable thing you have, and be very sensitive to who you spend your time with and how you spend your time. And You'll see great success. You really do. But it's going to take consistency. It's going to be, you're going to have to be dependable and reliable. You're going to have to be a buck stops here person. And these are all the things that people do to create success. And don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, there is a good chance, depending on this election, we could end up in a pretty deep recession. And if we do, it's going to shake and rattle some people mentally, emotionally, financially, physically. And these are the times where it's like you really got to just take care of yourself. You got to focus. You got to go to work every day, as painful as that might be. And you got to keep pushing forward because tough times don't last. Tough people do. And you will get through it. Okay. That's what I always say is be careful what you wish for because you might end up getting something. It might not be what you want at the end of the day. So do your homework, figure out what you want in life and surround yourself with great people and you'll see you'll get through any tough time possible.
Final question, because I want to shout out I Own It. For anyone listening to this, subscribe to the podcast. I Own It. You've interviewed tons of amazing people. If you were to sum up like some pattern of success, what's one word or a statement that kind of comes to mind from all the people that you sat in front of that, I haven't, and maybe our audience hasn't listened to?
Well, yeah, feel free to listen to it and you can watch it. It's starting a TV show, the Ben Reinberg I Own It podcast. And it's understanding people and communicating with them. It's communication is so important. You hear that from different guests I have on, different business colleagues, different people that have been wildly successful like us here at Alliance. And you look at the common theme, and the common theme is communication. Common theme is balancing your emotion. There's so many themes that come out of it is taking care of yourself, your health, managing your time. All these things we've touched on are all things that come out of the show. The first season Leverage of the new TV show was interesting because leverage is more powerful than money. And that's what the show shows you. And I do a lot of teaching front to camera action shots to teach our audience. But when you listen to that first season of Leverage, which is important, is you understand like what is leverage and how do I implement my life? And so you get to hear from different guests on different topics. So the new season we're filming is Obsessed. And we're talking about what does it mean to be obsessed? Kind of like we're talking about here is
Wow.
What does it mean to be obsessed and why are you obsessed and what's the outcome from it? So great topics, great shows. We have incredible guests. But again, it all feeds to how can we serve you, create impact, help you? How do we get you to build wealth, make money, get cash flow if you want to invest in Alliance and really change your life and invest with smart money? And so there's so many different topics that come out of the show. There's not one, but communication is a big topic that comes out of it and how to communicate, how to listen, and how to become a better communicator and things you could do to change now yourself personally in your relationships, but also your financial side of your life as well.
I challenge all of our listeners to subscribe. It's I Own It, Ben Reinberg. Correct?
That's right. That's correct.
Follow Ben. Listen to episode 118 on the Culture Matters podcast. Very different conversation. You'll get so much value from that. And episode 422, and then come back and listen to this again. There's so many nuggets.
And by the way, they only keep getting better. We keep getting better. So listen to all of them, but you'll see the progression. We keep getting better.
I agree. And I can't wait to go watch your show again. It's really amazing to see it expand and evolve into this TV show too. I love that you have video form as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. We love video. And by the way, we'll take clips of this show and we will rip it up and put on social media. A lot of people ask, like, how do I get into your universe, Ben? And you can go to benreinberg.com, go to myname.com. If you want to invest with us, you want to learn, feel free to peruse that. You can also follow me on all social media platforms. On Instagram, I'm at the real Ben Reinberg. I'm on X, TikTok, Facebook, you name it. I'm out there. LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn if you want. We produce great content every single day just for you. It's all about you. And if you want to learn more about my company Alliance, go to alliancecgcharliegeorgecharlie.com. If you want to invest, there's an invest with us button. We'll have someone reach out to you. And who knows, you might even get the luck of the draw, because once in a while I call investors, new investors, just to touch base and see how they're doing and learn from them as well. So I do that as well, and look forward to it. So if you're out there with capital and you're figuring out, how do I get cash flow? How do I produce profit? How do I produce tax benefits? Go to benreinberg.com, go to alliancecgc.com, and you see we will change your world. We will change your life by showing you where you can put your capital, how to make it safe and secure and profitable at the same time, and enjoy what the U.S. government has given us as wonderful tax benefits for owning commercial real estate throughout the United States. And that's why I'm very patriotic, because the forefathers that founded this country based it on commercial real estate, and I wouldn't be where I am without them setting the foundation.
Ben, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. It was great to be on, and thank you everyone for listening. And privileged to be on this again, and look forward to coming back.
Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.